Guys, I have a fucking strike on my channel. I'm not dressing as Mussolini. I have a strike for hate speech on my channel. Do you understand that? Il Duce. Let's just combine all the shitty personas into one. I've got Synthler, I've got Ryan Gosling, and I have Nostalgia Critic horror shirt for some reason. It's every aspect of my personality in one. A little over 10 years ago, when I was in basic training, I used to volunteer to take the night shift as sentry. During the day, the sentry just controlled entry and exit to the barracks, but at night we were essentially there to make sure no one tried to sneak out or commit suicide. One night, I was doing my usual sentry duties from 0200 to 0300 when, all of a sudden, I heard a strangely loud sound coming from the maintenance closet. There was no door on this closet, it was an open bay. It sounded like someone was screaming and violently throwing up, and there was also the sound of something crashing inside. I know I wasn't hallucinating because because my partner heard it too, as did another trainee who was sleeping closest to the closet. Though we carried rifles, they didn't have any ammunition, and even if they did, the rifles lacked firing pins, so they're basically just blunt weapons that we'd probably get in trouble for using. So my partner and I slowly walked over to the closet with our flashlights, and as we reached the entrance, it was as if nothing had happened. All the mops were in place, the buckets were upright, and there were no signs of vomit or any struggle. We took a deep breath and tried to convince ourselves that we were just tired or imagining things. But the thing about those barracks is that they were really old, and plenty of trainees had reportedly committed suicide in that exact room. There was one more spooky incident that happened on another shift, but that one could have just been a drill sergeant staring through the window in the middle of the night for no reason. Okay, well there you go. Were you guys really saying partner like his homeless is in the military when he his butt buddy, him and his butt buddy were watching guard. We're already ruining the spooky stories. All right, well that was a warm up. Spooky screaming and vomiting. I don't believe shit people say on the internet. When something like that happens to people, they usually don't post online, lol. I don't know, I'd say that one was easily believable. I've heard weird shit. I told you guys, I mean, this isn't really much of a story, and I'm pretty sure I've already said it twice on stream. But when I was like 7 years old, I saw the ghost of my great-grandmother. Like, okay, we'll give you my brief supernatural shit before I read another story. Okay, so when I was young, I feel like I really have already said this like 3 or 4 times, but we'll just say it again. So when I was young, I used to get sleep paralysis, but most people, like almost everybody, I'd say, I've actually, outside of just Googling it and reading a couple other accounts, I've never heard of anyone else getting sleep paralysis when they sleep on their stomach. But I did when I was young. When I probably, you know, like between the ages of like 6 to 10, because it was back when we were living in Ohio, I used to get sleep paralysis on my stomach. So because I was on my stomach, I didn't see any sleep paralysis demons, no shadowy figures. But when I would wake up in the middle of the night, it was paralysis. I couldn't fucking move, you know? All I could feel was this intense presence. Like, just, you know, you knew, like, it was like, you know, something's, like, breathing behind you, like, that kind of shit. Like, there's something there, and so I was always fucking terrified in the middle of the night. And another thing that would happen is I'd get night terrors, where essentially, I would sleepwalk over to my parents' bedroom, and I would just stand over my mother and stare at her until she woke up. Like something out of a horror movie, like kids being scary, you know, like kids just doing creepy shit. I did that because I didn't know better. I just knew, like, you know, Mom, I'm scared, help, basically. But all I would do, I would just hover over her side until she'd wake up and freak out. Mick Armadillo, I'm trying to remember, did I hear stuff during sleep paralysis? I'm not sure. Maybe. But anyway, one time, I did sleep on my back, and I saw my great-grandmother's ghost just hovering in the doorway. I just never forgot that. That was the only moment I'd ever thought I'd seen a ghost. And I don't know if it was a dream or whatever, but it is a distinct memory in my head that I do remember that when I was young. And I don't have very many memories from when I was young. So that definitely stuck with me. Most of my memories from early childhood are not good ones. Like, I told you guys, I used to be very easily frightened by horror games. So when I was young, literally, I think all it was is one of my cousins, who is 4 years older than me, the youngest of my cousins, because all my cousins are older than me. He was playing, I believe, the demo for Resident Evil 3 while he was at her house. And me just watching him play that, even with the PS1 graphics, my imagination was running so wild that it just gave me nightmares for years, I think, periodically, about zombies. I would just get it in my head. There's gonna be a zombie apocalypse. We're all gonna, like, rot and devour each other, and it's like the worst fucking thing ever. The world could end at any moment, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. It's just shit like that. My imagination would go wild with that stuff. I'm trying to think if, like, there's any actual scary stories from when I got older. I think Devin has one. It's too bad Devin didn't stream. I seem to recall him and my dad were staying at our house in North Carolina. They were there by themselves, and I think the power went out and some scary shit happened. I'll have to ask. Maybe Devin will have to give a belated Halloween story. I think I remember something like that, him saying something. Maybe you guys can ask him next time he streams. Okay, anyway, let's get to these other spooky stories. We can change songs after this one. Good afternoon, Synth. I heard you required at least a few noteworthy stories for the October season, so I'll hit you with one that may be of interest to you. Have you heard of shadow people? No, not the average denizen of Compton. I mean, beings in the shape of humans who are composed of nothing. There's been different stories and encounters of them, from being in photos to seeing people under the shade of trees, only to disappear after a second take, etc. I don't want to bore you with an explanation if you already know, but it's important to the context. Years ago, decades likely, my mother told me that in her teenage years, she faced a lot of abuse. She kept her head down during work, but she's dealt with uncles, cousins, and aunts who've treated her pretty bad. It doesn't help that a lot of them were involved in petty forms of organized crime, like moonshine production and a bit of nepotism, like her mother's second husband. Her real father was assassinated, which should put an idea of the kind of shit my extended family was involved in. Okay, I'm getting slightly confused here. Okay. Who became sheriff and on his deathbed cried to her about him and his deputies chaining people to train engine cabs on abandoned rail lines in the middle of the forest and leaving them there. What? So your grandma's second husband became sheriff and on his deathbed cried about him and his deputies chaining people to train engine cabs. Okay. Interesting. I had to reread that to understand who was doing what. Okay, I got you. Yeah, that's how serious it was. But anyways, when she became an adult, she had boyfriends, like all typical women do. Some would beat her or cheat on her. It didn't help she was an abuse victim, so she didn't know to just leave. So after months of being in obviously bad relationships... Okay, hold on. But how many boyfriends were abusive? This is the problem. Like... Listen, my chud is coming out right now. I can understand... Okay, you're in an abusive relationship. When you finally make it out, if you get into another abusive relationship, those are just the type of men you like. If you can't accept any personal responsibility, you like the Chads who beat you because they're Chad, and the beating is... I'll give the benefit of the doubt and not say she's a masochist. But if she's not a masochist, then it's just because she doesn't give a fuck. She likes Chad. Who cares if Chad beats you? Dark triad shit. Anyway, moving on. So after months of being in obviously bad relationships, she moved on until she met my dad, who actually treated her well and whose family came from ranchers. They moved in together into a 4-story apartment complex in the mid-90s, far away from her own family members for obvious reasons. I have another story involving what happened when my dad actually met with the rest of her family. But that's a whole different thing involving them fleeing to the middle of nowhere to avoid being quite literally murdered. Okay. It's too many details. My slightly drunk brain is getting confused. Okay, whatever. Okay. They moved in together into a 4-story apartment complex. Okay. Only one of her friends, obviously another woman from her high school years, and my dad was there to help. So he was stuck with the task of assembling the furniture and unloading the boxes while only the women talked. He had just finished making the dining table and had just popped open a water bottle because it was the middle of July and absolutely sweltering. Okay, you could just say he popped open a water bottle, dude. This is what? Are you writing a novel? Anyway, he left the door open to allow a draft in and was dwelling in his thoughts, not really paying attention when he got a feeling someone was watching it. He turned, and standing on the concrete platform was a kid. He must have been barely 3 years old, as my dad described him as being likely below his knee in height. Apparently, he was wearing overalls and sneakers, like all those kids in that period basically wore. You know the idea if you have in your head. Think the children during the dream sequence of Terminator 2 or something. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, yeah. The kid was just staring. My dad was always a grumpy guy, so he went, "What are you doing here? Go get out of here," and tried shooing him off. Another thing I forgot to mention is that my mother's friend lived on the 4th floor just above my parents' own. When they heard my dad, my mother got near the platform on their door and asked down, "Honey, who are you talking to?" My dad looked up toward the above platform's roof and basically said, "One of the neighbor's kid, he's right the..." My dad looked back down and the kid was just gone. He even looked around the room because he was that weirded out. He heard not a single step, not anyone running either up or down the stairs. Remember, this was a kid who looked no bigger than a toddler. He then went on the platform just to see if any kid was running out to the parking area or sidewalk near the apartment complex to see if this little shit was just messing around. Nobody. Not one. Just cars and a clear day. What further proved something was up was that he went upstairs to talk to my mom and her friend and explain the situation. He got informed that they heard nothing. These walls weren't that thick either, and the doors were several inches thick with at least 2 locks per door. There's so many details in this story, dude. So it's not like a 3-year-old is easily running to and fro without getting noticed. Come to find out, there was no tenants with kids in the entire apartment. There were several elderly couples, college kids who went to the local academy, a couple night workers who slept in or were alone for a myriad of reasons, and then my parents and her friend above them. Keep in mind the nearest next apartment was several tens of feet, a decent walk away, and more importantly, no 3-year-old... Okay, is this a fake story? Because, like, this sounds like the type of lie where, like, you overly add 2,000 details to make it seem more realistic, but if anything, it makes it faker, because, like, unless, like, your dad is telling you the story, or your mom, or whatever, and you're, like, writing down every fucking detail. How are you remembering this? Was this before you were born? I don't know, whatever. Sorry. I have to assume all the spooky stories are real. Anyway. So, my dad sat on this story for months until later they moved into a townhouse with an infant me, my older brother, and my younger brother. He explained it to my mom, who, without even being surprised, informed him that she believed a shadow child followed her. She herself couldn't really explain it in a believable way, so she just called it that. She just knew that every time she broke up with someone, they had a bad experience with this enigmatic kid. Car crashes, broke legs, power going out in houses. She'd get angry or even scared calls from her exes asking if she had a kid or if she was stalking them. Now, I know what you're thinking, but hear me. If you fucked up this sentence, I'm just gonna read this how I think it was meant to be written. Hear me out on the problem with the plausibility of these accusations. 1, she never had a kid until she got with my dad. 2, her exes live several states away. 3, she's a battered abuse victim with Stockholm Syndrome without a single vengeful bone in her body. So after explaining this to my dad, he was obviously bewildered. How the fuck do you believe something like this? Well, my dad did, and he never believed in ghosts or anything ridiculous like that. He's not one for shit like that. He's incredibly grounded. It didn't help that every male in my family after that, including my older brother and me, would experience something like that. When I was 8, I had a nightmare and woke up in the middle of the night. You know how it is with children, getting woke up by their dreams and shit. So it's the dead of night. I get up from my bed and begin waddling off with a blanket to my parents' room. I sneakily open the door to not wake them up. This was, hold on. I don't know why there's a paragraph line break there, whatever. This was years later, and obviously after working hard, they actually had decent furniture and whatnot. We had one of those huge screen TVs from the 80s, not the flat screens, just a giant TV that had wood paneling. Oh, yeah. And their bed had a large ornate headrest and a footrest design. I laid down on the carpet just below the footrest, essentially going to hide and sleep the rest of the night. Damn the consequences in the morning. I had positioned myself so my face would be looking up to the ceiling. A minute passed by, then 5. How old were you here? You were 8? I really couldn't get back to sleep, mainly because I was a scared little shit, and whatever had woken me put me in a I'm too paranoid to sleep mode. So I tried forcing myself during that whole time by just closing my eyes and not thinking about it. The longer it took, the more I got this feeling. I don't know what gave it to me, but it dawned on me. I think someone was watching me. So, thinking I had actually fallen asleep, and this is one of them getting up for the bathroom or had noticed me, I quickly opened my eyes knowing I'd probably get sent back to my room. Instead, this shape, I guess, of a kid exactly my age or size or something equivalent, I don't know how to explain it. They were just a shadow, but it was moving towards me with its arms outstretched in the same way someone would if they were trying to strangle you. I quickly closed my eyes in fear and yelled, obviously scared shitless. This actually woke my parents up, and eventually I was sent to my room. Are your parents just fucking dicks? I feel like if I screamed in my parents' room, my parents would be like, Kobe, what's wrong? You know, like, what do you mean? All right, anyway. I learned years later of the above 2 stories, both told by my dad and after the fact, when I asked him if he believed in ghosts or anything. Wait, so you didn't even explain why you were screaming in your parents' room at 8 years old? Is that what we're getting at here? Anyway. Mainly because I trusted him to give a level, reasonable opinion on things. I told him mine, he relayed those 2. Again, my dad doesn't believe in any of this shit, but he believes this, which is what gives it a lot more credence. It'd be essentially if you sat down with your dad one day, Synth, and he suddenly told you about how he believes in ghosts because he once encountered one. Yeah, well, see, that's not a good equivalence because, as I've said many times on these streams over the years, I talked to my parents about literally everything, so I probably would have found out about that shit when I was like a teenager, you know? There wouldn't be one day I figure out this secret about one of my parents. Hell no. There ain't no secrets. We're pretty much all open books in this family. Anyway, I'm rambling, and I'll probably tell you about my older brother's experience with the shadow person, my grandmother's dealings with the occult, and the human bones she bought that we discovered after she died, as well as my 2 uncles on my mother's side who were hitmen, but later if you found any of this interesting. I don't know. I feel like there's just too many details for... Like, if it is real, you could probably just cut down what that experience essentially is. You know? So glad I'm listening to this crap before bed. Yeah, we need more spooky music. What's like a really spooky one? Hold on. I'm trying to think. I think there's a good Silent Hill 2 ambient track that I do really good for this one. But I'm trying to think like what it's called. There's a few in here. There's one in the fucking hospital that like fucks with my head. Yeah, there's like breathing. There's one with breathing in it that's in the hospital. That one's fucky. I don't know what it's called though. There's the breathing. I hate that shit. When you hear that shit, I'm like, get me the fuck out of here. All right, hold on. All right, this might. This one might make me laugh, so I don't know if this is fitting for for this. Okay. I don't really have paranormal stories. Okay. Well, don't worry. The second half of the sentence makes it so we should keep reading. Don't worry. Okay, just relax, calm down. I know everyone's like, why are you reading this then? Chill out. Okay, I don't like that either. What, now we got banging in the background? Okay. All right, we might need to pick something less spooky. I don't like this anymore. Okay. Yeah, this is not good. If someone's having nightmares listening to this stream. All right, hold on. Okay. I don't really have paranormal stories, but I have a few pretty gory ones, so pretend these are like slashers or something. It goes without saying that Brazil is a very violent country, and growing up I was exposed to this reality many times, so I'll share the most memorable stories. First one happened when I was about 5 years old. I was sitting at the doorstep of my parent... Oh, wait, hold on. Did I remember to loop this? No, I didn't. Okay, I'm glad I checked that. Okay. First one happened when I was about 5 years old. I was sitting at the doorstep of my grandparents' house with my granddad at my side. For context, the house is at the top of a hill that faces another hill at the opposite side. At some point, I notice a guy walking up the road on the other side. Out of nowhere, some other guy appears on the roof of one of the houses. Gun in hands, he blows the other guy's head off, runs away through tall grass, and disappears completely. Despite my granddad's attempt to block my view, I could clearly see the pool of blood pouring down the street and a few brain parts. Shit. Second one happened in 2020, I believe. I called an Uber to take me to the mall to buy something for my PC. Halfway through the voyage, I can see a big commotion in this really big public park. A bunch of people and cop cars everywhere. Suddenly a guy runs away from the crowd with a cop chasing after him. With no warning, the cop pulls out his gun and shoots twice in the guy's torso, one hitting his heart. Later on, I would find out the guy was the local drug dealer, so I'm calling based on this one for the cop. I fucking knew parts of this would make it hard to read it. Alright, we gotta change this track after this. I don't like the breathing. The third and final one for me happened before the second chronologically, but I wanted to save this one for the end. You'll see why soon. I was 15 at the time and was walking home from school. As I approached the final corner to get there, I saw a small crowd around a truck that was just standing there in the middle of the street in front of a junkyard that operated in the area. And then I saw it. One of the workers just got his head fucking crushed by the loaded truck. There were visible pieces of brain and skull fragments under the wheel, but the worst part was that in the crowd was the guy's pregnant wife that saw the whole thing happen right in front of her. She was bawling her eyes out, and I don't know how to explain this properly, but for a moment there, I lost track of time. Hold on. Okay, I gotta pause it. I lost track of time. For what felt like an eternity, all I could hear and see was her wailing. It felt like a movie. I didn't sleep very well that night. Moral of the story, don't ever come to Brazil. It fucking sucks in here. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk. Yeah, Brazil and China are clearly the same fucking place. Well, then again, in China, probably everyone would have ignored the guy getting run over by the truck, but... yeah, Still. Yeah, that's fucking... Yeah, this one's a little less spooky, but fits the vibe. Yeah, we could do this one. Alright, online whiskey consultant, we can get to yours. If it's a fucking... If it's a joke, you're getting timed out. I just had a nightmare I had forgotten, but this one was a continuation of the real nightmare I had years ago. In this one, I was visiting my teacher, who was a demon sealer. A demon sealer? Okay. At his home and workplace. It is an elevated workshop encased by 10-foot chain-link fences, overgrown with plant life. My teacher, does not have a name, was out today, where I met the security guard who greeted me. The security guard, no name, is an older man... Hold on. The wine isn't sitting that well in my stomach at the moment. The security guard, no name, is an older man like teacher, but knew of the demon. It was his job to ensure no one came nearby or tried to break in. He was an apprentice of the previous demon sealer, but could not take the illusions the demon produced. Instead, he sought to protect the seal as a gate guard, preventing others from getting close. Me and the guard exchanged a few words, telling me that the teacher wasn't in, but he would let me in as I was the new apprentice. I do not remember why I had to go into that warehouse, but the next part is what reminded me I was in a nightmare. I entered the warehouse and saw inside a home, complete with a living room, bed, even a bathroom, all in one room. However, the kitchen is where the trap door was. My eyes locked on the trap door for a moment. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, but I knew better. It was mid-April. The demon had no power on this day. Yeah, the weird thoughts definitely seem dream-like, where it's just like, that's like a statement in a vacuum that would only make sense in a dream. It was mid-April. The demon had no... Okay. Yeah. Are you saying because of, like a... I don't know. Alright, well, anyway... When I let my senses relax is when the demon decided to flash a quick scare. A large red bony face with bloody tears appeared above the trap door with only a barely audible scream. Did it have hyper-realistic blood, too? This was only for a moment, for I thought it had no power, but to prove me wrong, he sent a little greeting of his. I stopped breathing for a moment because I could not move. I was not teacher, well adjusted to the terror, but his apprentice, only approaching the demon when he was near. I left the house with a cold sweat, only able to just look at the guard, but not able to respond. He knew from my look that I was scared, but said nothing. We were both men, and we both knew the real terror the demon could do, even locked behind a seal. This is where the second nightmare ends, and the first nightmare, the demon ritual, begins. Oh, were you dreaming out of order? I've actually done that before, too. I used to have repeat dreams. I wish I could remember them, but I don't remember that well. But when I was younger, sometimes I would repeat almost the exact same dream over, and I would remember by the end that it happened before. This nightmare for me began when my teacher was explaining to me what the demon is and how we keep it sealed. The demon is an entity that exists to cause negative emotion and feed on those emotions. It does this through illusions, mostly scaring us, but teachers said that before he was sealed, he did much worse. It would get others to commit hideous acts, inflicting terror on others, all the while saving his power and gorging itself on the emotions let out. The act of keeping the seal intact takes a month in October, where the person must stay near the seal, resisting the demon's attempts to scare you off. On November 11th at 11 p.m. Okay. 11 is when the demon is at its strongest, where the sealer must take the chain locking the trap door off and hold it at the moon for 1 hour. Teacher made me visit at 10 a.m. every day of October to get a feel for what the demon does to a person. I would simply listen to my teacher talk about nothing in particular, more like rambling on about nothing. It was during this I would see eyes looking at me from the walls or whispers in my ears. I would dread going to his house every day, but he looked as though he was not affected by the demon's illusions. A month went by, and on November 11th, before the ritual began, the teacher told me that he would be doing the entire ceremony, and I just need to stay calm and not do anything. At 10:50 p.m., he takes the chain off the trap door and leads me outside. Despite taking the chain which holds the demon off, nothing happened. When we stepped outside, a clear night turned into an amalgam of shapes and noises. The only thing normal was me, teacher, and the moon. I was greeted with an immediate hand grabbing my face. It felt like it was choking me, covering my eyes and nose as I could feel its sandpaper-like skin rubbing me. It was when teacher punched me in the stomach that I felt real pain, realizing this was nothing but a delusion that meant to scare me off. I looked at teacher and saw him just holding the chain at the moon, while the hallucination tried its best to make him panic. At the end, the demon started to make bamboo grow from the ground and tried to pierce both of us. I got out of the plant's way, while teacher just stood there. I saw it pierce him, blood spilling out from him as the bamboo grew faster and came crawling out of his skin like a scarab. His body changed in front of me, but his face did not, just staring at the moon. And the end came at midnight. The unreality became reality again. Teacher just walked inside and locked the trap door again. And this, like other good nightmares for me, ended without a clear ending. But as I said above, I have follow-up nightmares every now and again, so hopefully the next one is more interesting. Yeah, well, that was interesting. I'll say that. I've had a lot of interesting nightmares, but it's so hard to actually remember much. I remember, like, vague ideas. Like, the most recent nightmare I had recently, I think, was one where I was basically just going through endless hallways. Like, it was almost like a liminal space type of thing, where, you know, one moment you're in an endless hallway being chased by some abomination. You open it up and you're suddenly, like, in a school classroom. Then you open up another door and then you're in, like, an office, or I'm back in my house, you know, etc., things like that. I always used to have so many dreams about being chased. You know, I don't know why. Just, I mean, I know that's fairly common for humans because it's just a reflection of danger, you know, in the wilderness. But it's never like something normal. It's not like you're getting chased by bears or cougars or something. It's always some uncanny, like, human-like creature. The ones that I've definitely also had ones that are some kind of narrative, but again, I wish I could remember them. It was, most of them were when I was like teenage years to early 20s. I don't think I have elaborate dreams I really remember anymore where I'm talking to people about nonsensical bullshit. Actually, I think I had a dream journal one point. Because one of the times I went to therapy, I think that was one of the things that they encouraged me to do as an activity. But I don't know if I still have it. I might have trashed it. Maybe I'll look for it sometime. Let's see. What's the next spooky story? Okay. This one's short. Oh shit. He send a fucking spooky picture too? Okay, it looks like it's a dude in makeup. The thumbnail for this looked fucking terrifying. Here, I'll show chat what the picture is. But the actual blown up picture is not so bad. Alright, here's the picture in the email. So that, like, I could only see... I'll show you what I could see in my email. All I could see was, like, this, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck is that? You know? And I'm like... Alright. Anyway. Okay. Hello, Synthler. So this is my personal spooky story. I'm half Dutch and half Indonesian. I'm gonna refrain from saying anything racist. Anyway. I feel like I've said enough for a lifetime. Anyway, one time I was in a very rural village after visiting my friend and helping stuff for his dad's funeral. It doesn't help either that the funeral was late at night and the graveyard is full of huge trees and bamboo. What, this one has bamboo too? What the fuck? Okay, anyway. Weird coincidence. It also occurs during Kliwon Friday, which is considered a significant and often mystical day here. The funeral finished exactly at 1 a.m. So, okay, I know I'm running the spooky stories. So, like, is the dad, was he geomaxing? Like, I'm assuming it's the Dutch dad and Indonesian mom. All right, hold on. Anyway, let's continue the story. The funeral finished exactly at 1 a.m. I went home alone that night through some spooky forest and muddy track. There was some sound of mysterious gamelan? I'm not sure what that means. And I was followed by a pocong, an Indonesian ghost that appears as a corpse wrapped in a burial shroud. Oh, so that's the image. So he was chased by this. And tied at the head and feet. So I fucking run and slip and stumble through the mud. But thankfully I managed to go home. The terror doesn't stop there though. There are some weird noises on the roof tile and knocks on the window. I can't sleep through the night until my grandma comes and prays in some ancient Javanese spell. And everything after that went back to normal. It still traumatized me to this day. I won't come back to that village. Well, yeah, fuck. If anything like that, if you get chased by any freaky ass shit, you're definitely never going back there. Well, that's one I actually would like more details, but yeah, that would be freaky as fuck. All right, Brian. Okay, well, we're gonna get to all of them, I think, because I think there's probably only like 2 or 3 left now. I wish there were more spooky stories. We got like 10 billion Doomer Hour stories, but we only got, you know, a handful of spooky stories. Too bad. Oh well. Alright, we can change the track before I read this next one. No, Ernest, it's supposed to be scary story. Oh, well, that one's... I don't think that one's scary, is it? Hold on. I'm trying to remember which track that is. That one actually is weirdly kind of spooky. People just forget because it's an action game. I have a very vivid memory from when I was about 2, where I was being led out the back porch door of my house by an old woman. It turns out my great-grandmother used to live in a granny annex attached to the porch door for years, which was demolished around the time I was born. She died a few months before I was born. I never met her and never saw a photo of her, but when I described the memory to my grandparents, it was her exact description. And that's it. That was a short one. I think that one was just sent in 35 minutes ago. Well, yeah, that's kind of similar to my great-grandmother's story, because I only met her one time, like a year before she died or something. I have to ask my mom what the circumstances were, because she was like 90-something years old, and I think I'd only met her one time when I was like 3 or 4. And then you saw her as a ghost like a few years later. Okay. Hold on, I'll turn this down a little bit more. Well, Spiteful Mutant, you can't post it in chat, because, like, I mean, I want to read it all at once, dude. I was asking for spooky stories. I'm guessing you weren't in those other streams. Okay, a quick one, but I used to have a giant stuffed monkey my mother got me when I was a baby. Seems innocent, but one small problem. It was haunted in some way. This fucking thing would give me occasional nightmares about chasing me, screaming at me in English, not in monkey noises. And even one time I swear did a human scream in my face in the real world and quickly ran back to its spot. This was a monthly occurrence, and eventually when I got older, my mom was giving away some of my toys I outgrown, and I pleaded with her to get rid of it. She initially didn't want to because it was expensive, but she caved and gave it away. You know, something I never understand. Hold on, I'm pausing. Something I never understand about stories like this. Why do you not tell your mom the first fucking time? I know, listen, I've talked about my issues with my parents many times over the years, but I absolutely never at any point was I afraid to tell my parents about shit like this, you know? I think there was some weird creepy dolls. I could probably, I don't think we have any that are actually creepy. For some reason I never liked, my mom has this one of this like Italian mouse mascot. I could probably go fetch it downstairs. I don't think it's creepy looking at it now, but I just think I never really liked doll-like things when I was young. I'm trying to remember if there was ever one that was like a creepy one. I'll finish this story and I'll show you the one I'm talking about. But when you see it, you'll be like, that's not fucking creepy at all. Why would you be freaked out by that? Well, things in the dark, you know, I don't know. I got no explanation. I'll show you in a second. Okay. She initially didn't want to get rid of it because it was expensive, but she caved and gave it away to one of my aunt's neighbors. The nightmares went away, and one day, maybe a year later, I got a peculiar dream. The monkey returned. I was frightened, and rightfully so. For the first time in the nightmares, I had more control and was ready to fight it once and for all. Then the stuffed monkey said, "Brian, wait, stop," and said he was sorry for all of the years he terrified me. The pugnaciousness quickly turned to confusion. I can't remember if I forgave him or not, but I found out shortly after the two boys that it was given away to ripped it limb from limb, and my aunt's neighbor threw it away. To this day, I haven't had another nightmare about it, and sometimes I still think about what was wrong with me or that monkey. Huh. Yeah, that is kind of interesting. The kid. I do like the horror creature being like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it," and then the kids tore it to shreds. Okay, hold on. I want to show this fucking thing. I swear though, my memory is bad, dude. But there were definitely like doll things I didn't like. But whenever I didn't like stuff, I was one of those kids who was scared of the closet. I was the type of kid where no matter what, the closet had to be closed when I went to bed. I would not go to sleep unless the closet was closed. It's not like anything is in there, but just like, you know, obviously we've all heard a million stories about the monster in the closet. I never saw a monster. It's just I didn't want the closet open ever for any reason. Or the closet, or it's a metaphor because she's in the closet. Ah, that's so funny. This guy, I think it's just the dead eyes. Like, I don't think he's not creepy, but yeah, this is. I don't remember what he's even called, but yeah. Le Topo Gigio? Gigio? Yeah, the TG. Okay. That's funny that someone recognizes him here. But yeah, I don't think I think this was one of the things I definitely didn't like. And there were other ones. But anything that it's in the dark, if this thing is fucking, you know, staring at you while you're lying in bed, like, and you're a kid, yeah, you're, I didn't like that. I did not like that. It's the mouse that cursed people with erectile dysfunction. Here, for the last scary story, I'll have him stare at chat. Don't sit him by Poir. He's gonna murder Poir. He's gonna snap his neck. It moved. Well, I mean, he's being held up by Machine Dramon, so he might actually move a little, but it's not because he's haunted. Okay, there was a time when I was living in, like, a pretty run-down apartment that was completely gutted. It was side by side with the house I grew up in that my parents currently lived at. These houses are old legacy American New England, and they have been standing for about 200 to 300 years. Well, my father is someone who doesn't even believe in God, and occasionally... Sorry, I just saw something at the corner of my eye that freaked me out. It was the YouTube preview window. Dude, all this... Listening to all this scary music is fucking my head, even when I was going downstairs. I'm like, there's nothing in this fucking house, and I'm about to turn 30 years old. Relax. But still, I'm like, there's too much scary shit. Anyway, well, my father is someone who doesn't even believe in God, and occasionally he had told me in private that he had seen things I had never seen. Anything... this is a weird run-on sentence. He told me in private he's seen things I had never seen, anything until I'd lived in that apartment. The interior had no carpets and no drywall, just studs in the wall and wooden floors. It was insanely dirty, and I would just chill in there and invite friends over, and we would just drink and watch movies and play games. Well, there was a period for a few weeks when I would just wake up at around 1 to 2 to 3 a.m. and just feel insanely uncomfortable. It was in the middle of winter, and the building was always cold. There was a space heater in it, but it wasn't really efficient. One day when this happens, I just laid there in the bed terrified, then suddenly I just started hearing strange sounds outside of the bedroom door, like I was hearing whispering. Then I started hearing footsteps running down the stairs, and it sounded like children going psh, psh, psh. Like they were chasing each other up and down the stairs playing with toy guns. Then when I crept over to open the door, I just heard them whispering, "Quiet, quiet, he's up." And I got so fucking scared, I just flicked all of the lights on and stayed up the rest of the night on my computer. A few days go by, then I wake up yet again, and I'm facing the wall lying on my side. It's pitch black in the room, and I woke up sluggishly, just rolling over, and suddenly I just feel a strong presence, and it's coming from the closet. I don't know what it was, but I was just so fucking terrified I couldn't even look at the closet. I just rolled over and faced the wall, and put the covers over my head. Yeah, that's similar to the sleep paralysis thing I was talking about, where it's like you just feel this intense presence, and you're too terrified to look. Anyway. Put the covers over my head, and I swear I felt whatever it was creep up to the side of my bed and just stand there staring at me. Yeah, that's exactly what I was feeling too. I just laid there for like 20 more minutes and just kind of just passed out from being extremely tired and frightened. The next time something like this happened was like 5 years down the road. I remember waking up yet again at like 2 in the morning, and I'm just lying there, and I kind of just feel like a jolt of energy fly through my body. I'm wide awake, and my hearing and senses just heightened. And then I just hear booming thuds coming from the stairs, like someone was running up the stairs, and then a loud crash right outside my door. I just jumped out of my bed and fucking ran out of the house and into my parents' house, which was only like 20 meters away from this building. And I just stayed up for the rest of the night in their kitchen just messing around on my phone. Dude, I couldn't be living in a place like that I think is fucking haunted. Hell no, dude. You gotta get the fuck out of there. That's how the story ends, is there. I was hoping maybe there'd be a little bit more. But yeah. You did kind of unlock another memory from my childhood a little bit later when scary shit would happen. And because when we moved to North Carolina, I had a CRT in my bedroom at that point. So whenever weird, scary shit would happen, I just turned the TV on and watched Adult Swim until I wasn't scared anymore. Because it's like, at least that way, I can calm myself down, right? I don't know how somehow the power of TV is calming, but it was just watching like stupid adult cartoons. But yeah, Dude, my sleep has always been fucked my whole life, the more I think about it. Is it any wonder why I stay up until 3 a.m. like every night? It's because I've been doing that since I was like 10 or 11 years old. Not all the time back then, but there's been many moments throughout my life where I can't even... I couldn't put a number on it. I don't really know for certain how consistent it was, but I think ever since around like 11 years old, I've stayed up past midnight. Not every day, but a lot of the day. So I felt like it was always going to get this bad. I've just been conditioned. Okay, so people are actually sending in more horror stories. Awesome. All right. At the perfect time. I unfortunately, I'm assuming these are going to be hastily written, given that, you know, they're just showing up in my email now. All right, we can change tracks. All right, what do we want now? Yeah, it's not too late, Solar. We can read these. I'll stay up. It's not a big deal. I got a lot of work ahead of me with the Outer Worlds 2 review, so I'm fine just fucking going late with this one. I'm not going to be streaming for... Well, I might stream for Chudcast, but I'm definitely not going to stream until Chudcast. And probably won't stream a real long stream for a while. Because I got a lot of work to do. Wasn't going to send in a story, but you talking about your sleep paralysis story reminded me of my sole experience with it. I've told it in chat before, but likely no one remembers. Basically, when I was a teen, there was this one night where I had a dream. In this dream, I was walking down the sidewalk near my apartment. I walked past these two little girls walking a German Shepherd. Hold on. Just, something got in my glasses. That's all you need to know. Anyway, basically when I was a teen, there was this one night where I had a dream. In this dream, I was walking down the sidewalk near my apartment. I walked past these two little girls walking a German Shepherd dog without a leash. Only the dog stopped to sniff me while the girls kept walking. I held out my hand to pet the dog, noting the growing distance between us and the girls, and eventually they noticed the dog wasn't with them anymore. As soon as they turned around and saw me with the dog, they immediately let out ear-piercing screams and started scrambling towards me in an inhuman way. All I can remember is immediately turning to run in the opposite direction, and suddenly I was laying in my bed. I'm not sure if I just forgot what happened or if the dream basically jump cut. That's happened a shit ton of times to me, where like my dreams will end either a monster catches me or I like scream out. Actually, I think I told a nightmare on stream earlier this year where like what the fuck was the dream? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? I told a nightmare I think earlier this year, which ended with me like opening the door to my bedroom, seeing something there, and like it like screeches at me, and then like the dream ends. I think I didn't. I don't remember exactly how it went, but whatever. Anyway, or maybe I screamed. Yeah, I screamed in the dream end. I can never scream in my dreams. Every single time I've screamed in a nightmare, nothing comes out, and I'm like being serious. I have never been able to scream in a dream before. Like, I feel like I'm suffocating. Like, almost. Like, it's just... I try to make noise as much as I can, and just nothing comes out in a dream. Was it the Doomer Hour stream where you decided not to review Tainted Grail? Maybe. Yeah, okay, yeah, so it was me who screamed seeing some kind of thing in my room or something, sitting on the bed or whatever the fuck it was, or tall figure, I don't know, whatever. I feel like I've probably had quite a few dreams that are similar to that before. Anyway. So this whole thing with the two women screaming and sprinting at him, I've definitely had similar shit to that before. Thing is, I think at this point I was still in the dream, or in a half-dream state, and I couldn't move. My head was tilted to the side, leaning toward a desk fan I had pointing in my direction. Since I had my eyes open, the fan was blowing into my eyes, and I couldn't shut them. All I could do was maintain my stare toward the door to my room, which was open. Suddenly, it appeared as though one of those little girls that chased me had just spontaneously appeared in my doorway in one moment, significantly taller than she was before, with her head nearly touching the doorframe. She was staring at me with her eyes wide, giving me this creepy smile, and I immediately felt an intense sense of dread. At this point, I was still frozen and could only lock eyes with her, but soon after she disappeared, she just started to slowly fade away. After she had fully faded, light started to fade in from the other side of the doorway, and I was finally able to move again. I turned to my side away from the desk fan and started rubbing my eyes, but they were dried out from the fan blasting at them. For about an hour or two after that, my eyes burned, primarily my left eye. When I got up, I found out that my mom had been up for a while before me, which I find interesting since I didn't perceive the light from outside my room until after I had left the dream state, but everything else was the same. And that's where it ends. Yeah, I've had that too. I think not since I was young though, where you wake up from the dream, but it's just another layer of the dream. I've definitely had that before, but probably not for like more than 10 years. Or at least I don't remember if I have had that in the past 10 years. But I do remember as a teenager, kid, whatever, that I did have dreams within dreams. Okay. We need spooky experiences from Synth Dad. Yeah, it would be nice to have them because I think Devin has he has at least one, and my dad probably has some. I used to go on night walks frequently, roughly around 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. One night, I was walking down the road, and an unmarked van drove past slowly. They'd stop at every 4th to 7th house and throw a single newspaper out. If the real reason for driving around was delivering the paper, you'd think they'd drop one at every house or so. Then they saw me. They put their lights on full and started accelerating. I remember the engine roaring in the... You just unlocked another spooky story, which I think I maybe have told on stream before. Probably, I would bet. I'll tell it right after this. I remember the engine roaring in the otherwise nearly silent night, besides the trees rustling. They had already passed me, so they had to do a U-turn. I took the opportunity to duck behind a nearby tree and press my body against it so that it would look like I was just part of the tree. The van drove back and forth on the road, no longer delivering papers, for a solid 3 to 4 minutes looking for me. Back then I had long hair, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of the gang's rape vans that go around looking for people to kidnap at night. What the fuck? Where do you live? After a while, they left, and I walked back home promptly. Okay, well, yeah, that's freaky. My story... So, when I lived in my dad's apartment, this was before before YouTube, so this would have been when I was 21, I think. 21 or 22, around there. That time, so we had Rocky, my Toy Fox Terrier, before we put him down. He was living... My dad took care of him. See, I've lived with my dad a couple times, so the memories are starting to blend together, but all you need to know is, you know, I walked Rocky outside. Was this... Fuck. Maybe this was even before Sammy. Was this before Sammy? No, it couldn't have been before Sammy. Dude, I'm struggling to remember when this actually happened, I'll be honest. But it's not that important for the story when it happened. So, all you need to know is, you know, I gotta walk Rocky around the apartment. You know, clean up his poop, all that. He's an old-ass dog. So, I had to walk him around a few times. More than... I probably walked him around the house, or I mean, around the apartments, probably like 8 times a day or something. It was a lot. But, because he's old. So, of course, out of those 8 times, a couple are at night, right? So pretty much every night I have to walk Rocky around these apartments, and this was before it kind of went to shit. Like, yeah, it was kind of a diverse. It got worse. It got worse over the years. It was a bit diverse, but it wasn't that bad. So it wasn't so much I was afraid of the local crimers doing crime activity. And this was also before they built a police station like right across from the apartment complex. Maybe this was before Sammy, now that I think about it. I don't know. Whenever this happened, so they actually built a police station across from the apartment complex. So gee, I wonder why they chose to do that. So but before it got as bad culturally enriched, I'm just, you know, I'm walking around at night with my tiny blind dog. I mean, Rocky was basically blind and crippled, you know, so it's not like his dog senses are good. So really, I'm the guy who has to be looking out for danger, because the dog is worse than a human in terms of his senses, because he can't see. He's old as hell, so his smell, his hearing, and his nose aren't even that good either. So I'm just walking around at night, always freaked out. There's always weird fucking, kind of weird shit. Not like supernatural shit, but, you know, it's just walking around at night. This is a bad story, I'm realizing as I'm telling it, but I'm kind of like reliving the emotions of walking around my dad's apartment at midnight every day, and I'm just not liking it, you know? So everything's fine almost every time, of course. Nothing really weird. There's not really people out there at midnight, obviously, for the most part. But of course, there's something moving at the top left. Oh, that's probably me just moving my head and you seeing the lights. Those are my computer. Look, it'll be like magic. I'll cover up parts of the light and it'll look like something's moving in the background. Ooh, you see that, chat? It's a mirror. It's the computer fan. What, on the shelf? Yeah, the fucking mouse. You didn't see the fucking mouse? Wars live. It's a piece of cloth or something? Oh, I know what it is. I think it's the fan. The fan is spinning, and see, there's a piece of paper right there that says "You died" from Dark Souls. My mom thought it'd be cute if I taped that to my cubicle, and the fan is just blowing it. Here, I'll take it off the cubicle and show you. I'm sure everyone's spooky. It's spooky time. I'll finish my story and make it less of a Thomas story in a second. There. Now I'm sure there won't be any moving in the background. A fucking screw just popped out of my chair. Of course, on Halloween. Something ominous had to happen. This is Final Destination. Now what's gonna happen is the fucking the chair, you know, all those the stories of people's chairs collapsing and then the center of the chair goes, you know, where the sun don't shine and they bleed out. Yeah, that's how I'm gonna die. Yeah, I'm glad we're going Final Destination mode. I hope that spring didn't pop out somewhere important. Jesus, man. You know what? This is why you should believe in the supernatural. Because, like, what the fuck? What are the chances that the fucking screw pops out of the chair tonight of all nights? Anyway. So, anyway, this is a really, really long-winded, stupid way of saying I had to walk my dog around the apartments at midnight, and nothing happened almost every time. You know, occasionally there might be other people walking to, like, their cars. They're out, you know, I don't know what they're doing, partying at a friend's place or eating out late or something. But like this one fucking time, there's a dude walking, and I can hear him because it's not loud, you know. I can hear him outside, and the dude's walking toward me, and so I'm just like, I don't care if he's friendly or what. It's a guy at midnight, who gives a fuck. So I pick up Rocky because he's just like sniffing shit, eating grass or something. He doesn't actually have to go. And the dude starts walking faster. And I'm just like, okay. So I start walking faster. And the dude is clearly like starting to walk to try and catch up to me. I'm like, alright, fuck this. So I just straight up like power walk. Like it's just a walk, like, you know, you have the building, right? It just walk out behind the building. In my dad's apartment, I literally just take Rocky out back and basically pee and poop right past the porch, you know? So all I had to do is just, you know, walk back around the circle. So even though he was, you know, keeping pace with me, I basically just like, as soon as I rounded the corner, I just jogged to the door, popped in, and locked it. Like, I never saw the guy's face or anything. But as soon as I heard him start walking faster when I picked up Rocky, I'm like, fuck this. Alright, I'm out of here. I don't give a fuck. I don't know what this is about. I mean, he never said my name. Like, he never called out to me or anything. So you just know this is some fucking, I don't know if it's a mugger or what. But I'm out of there. Nope. I'm not dealing with this. Yeah, it was probably black. Yes. That was it, I think, for... Oh, no. What? People who keep sending in more stories. Alright, we better get through these then. Hold on. I just made myself very paranoid. I need to find out where this screw came out. I don't think there's any way, like, in the dark, I'm going to be able to tell, but... Yeah, I have the screw. I'll find out tomorrow. Are people going to, like, go through... Yeah, I hope it's just the arm, but actually, I don't think this arm... Hold on. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. Hopefully it was nowhere important. Okay, let's change tracks, since I love how I asked you guys for the whole month to send in scary stories, and you lazy fucks wait until the actual Halloween. Well, Halloween's over, actually. It's 3 a.m. November 1st. But you wait until that point to send in stories. Alright, next spooky trick. What's with the doll next to Poir? That is... I was explaining how my mom used to have, like, you know, scary looking dolls that I hated as a kid. I think she probably got rid of most of them, but she still has this one. And I just hate the dead eyes of these things. Like, when I was a kid at night, like, you know, you're laying in bed, it's completely dark, and all you see is, like, a vague shadow of this thing staring at you. Yeah, that's fucking freaky. Is it any wonder I always had so many nightmares as a kid with shit like this in my room? Train to Kill, Manhunt. OST, okay. Halloween feels like pure cringe after you'd hit 24, 25. Okay, or you're an edgelord trying too hard. I don't know. It's just a holiday, homie, where people want to, you know, get scared. You're just a British cigarette. Alright, it was after me and my mom moved into the new house. After a couple months, there were 2 nights of spooky bullshit that happened to me. The first night was me lying in bed, only to be woken up by someone or something slamming on the pillar in the entrance and screaming in something of a mix of pain and anger. A deep voice that shouted at the top of its lungs that would have come from a man if it was a person. I told my mom about it, and she said she didn't hear anything that night. I shrugged it off as though it was just a stupid nightmare. What followed was much worse, because the week after that, again, as I was woken up not by a scream nor a slam, but the sound of my front door opening. I thought it was my mom reminding me of something or telling me to do something tomorrow, as she usually does. But as the door opened all the way and hit the wall, no image of a woman Wait, what? Where's my mom? As the door opened all the way and hit the wall, no image of a woman showed up and no sound of a person walking. Okay. You probably could have just said there was nothing there. No, what had happened was my bed started to creak. I looked down and nothing was there. I tried to move, but I couldn't. Then it stepped on my chest. I felt the pressure as though it was a dog that laid on top of you. I didn't get scared, but I tried to scream. The pressure moved up to the point I could feel the breathing next to my ear, and I heard it say, "It's pointless," with a breathing giggle, followed by what was a ravaging scream in my right ear that would shake my eardrums as though someone was beating my eardrums consecutively for about 30 seconds. And then it left. Pure silence. But it was dead silent, not even the air gave a hum. I didn't want to move, but I mustered the courage to at least move a finger and decided I'd talk to my mom again tomorrow. She put up some old Catholic pictures of Jesus and Mother Mary. I have no idea where she got them, but I haven't had anything happen after that, so maybe something worked out. Yeah, okay. Okay, alright. I think I blanked out a little bit in that story, and I sort of misunderstood my brain what happened. Okay, I get what was going on here. Yeah. So you basically just woke up in the middle of the night, your door slammed open, and then some thing, you know, jumped on top of you, basically. I got it. And then screamed in your ear. Okay, here's another one. Okay, to set the scene, I think it was 2017, I was around 17 years old. I'm in my room, it's 1 a.m. and I'm laying down in bed, watching some YouTube. Once I get tired enough, I turn off the lights and lay down to sleep. Minutes later, I hear a peculiar noise. It sounded like sniffing. And then he wrote sniff, sniff, sniff in parentheses, which is weird. Am I supposed to do a sniff noise? It's just gonna sound like a DSP snort. Down towards the end of my bed, near my feet. I could also okay, what the fuck? The soundtrack just kicked in, 4 minutes in. That fucking almost jump scared me. Okay. I could also see that there was a lump under the covers, as if someone or something was physically there. My first thought is that it must be my small Doberman, Blitzen, but I look towards my door and see that it's closed, so he couldn't have gotten in. After looking back at the strange lump, it suddenly drops, as if whatever was there poofed out of existence. It was the blowjob demons. Ooh. Right afterwards, a blanket slips off of my bed, one I don't recognize. It then proceeds to float into the middle of my room. To describe what it was doing, it looked as if a small child was hiding underneath it, kind of like the stereotypical ghost costume kids would wear for Halloween. I proceed to lose my shit, fight or flight kicks in, and I get up and frantically swipe at it. Upon hitting it, it disappears completely. Freaked out, I then decide to stay up the rest of the night, understandably. The next day, I tell my family what happened. I described the blanket to them. A zebra-striped blanket with pink edges. I had never seen a blanket like it. But my mom showed me that inside the closet, hidden beneath a large pile of various fabrics, was the very same blanket. She then explained to me that it was her grandmother's blanket. She passed away over a decade beforehand. There you go. There's the spoopy. I'll tell you, the soundtrack spooked me when it fucking just kicked into, like, the combat part or whatever. Alright, you guys need to relax here. Why are there, like... I love how over the course of this month, I got, I think, 6 spooky stories. And then just this stream, we got, like, 10. Like, what the fuck is going on? Alright, hold on. Ban him? I don't even know who sent the one I just read. It's not like they have their YouTube username in the story. Also, it's not a spooky story, if you're wondering. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Because it was clearly done for attention. Okay, what track do we want next? Alright, we gotta stop at 3:30, just because I don't want to go to bed when the sun is rising anymore. I'd prefer not to. I still gotta de-wind for like 30 minutes before I can go to sleep after these streams. The thing is, like, if you're gonna have like some weird gay shit as an email, you probably shouldn't put it in the subject. You know what I'm saying? Like, I already know it's troll shit if it's in the subject. Anyway, yeah. What do we want? Is the yeah? Don't worry. I'm gonna put the mouse back, and I will not harm the mouse so that he does not haunt me and give me bad nightmares, because I would never incite some demon to fuck with me or whatever, or spirit or something. I didn't incite the monkey. Well, Brian, you know, maybe you weren't nice to your mom or something and didn't like that. I was against sending this, but you said you could stay late, so I said fuck it. This is a short one. So one night I decided I didn't want to use the kitchen, so I went to a burger shop 200 meters away from my house. Keep in mind, I walk that street daily, so it's noteworthy when I suddenly feel a presence behind me, like the sleep paralysis you mentioned. I don't believe in paranormal stuff, so I ignored it and kept my speed the same while looking over my shoulder. I got to the burger shop and wasted my money on the sloppiest burger based. When I finished eating and went outside to go back, I tried to go through the same street just to see sitting on the floor a shirtless... I don't even know what that word means. Esqueletical? Shirtless esqueletical. Let me see. What does that fucking word mean? I don't even know if that is a word. Maybe it's a typo. Is that a word in Spanish that you forgot to translate? Oh, it's skeleton. Was this fucking like Google translated to something? So like a skeletal man. A shirtless skeletal man. Like a meth addict kind of living corpse. I don't live in a poor or dangerous zone, so it really was out of place. When I saw that, I said nope and went the other way to my house without any weird over-the-shoulder feeling. Now, I think I might have some kind of third sense. I think you mean sixth sense. I know it's... I'm not going to say the guy's name, but his name, you know, is obviously like a Hispanic name. But, like, the ESL-ness in this one is getting me. Sixth sense is the term because you have 5 senses. It's some kind of third sense for detecting meth addicts. All right, some kind of third sense. That's funny as fuck. Anyway, that kind of de-winded my tension for a second there. Okay. All right. Well, that's an interesting AI image. Oh, this is another troll one. Well, this one at least is a scary story. It's an AI image with demonic Orthodox Jews. That's what it is. It's actually. Okay, well. I'm not gonna read that, but that was a funny image. Okay. Okay, next track. I can't. This one's only a minute and a half, so I can't keep looping, especially like it's too dynamic. Like we need ambient tracks like we had before. I don't understand why people keep not getting the rules. There's no point in showing the image. It's AI slop. Okay. When the night began, it was as mundane as any other. The darkness outside had enveloped the world into pitch darkness, with the only company by my side being the sounds of winds creaking the Washington oaks. Sitting in bed in my lonely apartment, I had become lost in my thoughts in my settling to sleep. A slight daze affected my eyes, the world becoming blurry and time began to feel stagnant. The feeling was gradual, but soon my vision dissipated completely, and I had found myself in a dreamlike state. Then I fell into a deep darkness unlike any other, like a stone dropping off a cliff into the ocean below, and the rock sinking into its deepest depths. Every layer of this newfound feeling of being made the world around me became colder and more hopeless, a void so dark and abysmal, it felt like death's claw wrapping itself around you. Then there I was at the bottom. A feeling of horror washed over me when I feel a presence in front of me. The presence made me freeze. It says with the most hate and spite, "Go any further, and all that you know will die." Not with words, but with a feeling. A sickening, voiceless feeling. Suddenly like a cold... Jeez, the spit in my mouth. Suddenly like a cold claw, I felt a chilling finger placed on me. Deep in my state, I pleaded out, let me out, I need to go back, please, oh God." And then there I was, laying in my bed, not remembering myself falling asleep. But as the morning sun glistened through the window, my vision caused a glimpse, a fading shadow creeping into the closet like a mist. And as I looked down upon my chest, a red mark scraped across me to always remind me of the fear I felt that night. Are you saying you have like a scar on your chest, or was it just like a red mark? There's been a shit ton of times, not necessarily nightmares, but like I'll fall asleep on my side sometime and just like clutch my bicep, you know? So it is kind of weird, like I'll wake up and there's clearly just finger lines on my skin. It's just kind of the way I sleep weird. But I usually sleep on my back, so it's not like that, but if I do fall asleep on my side, sometimes I'll just clutch my arm too tightly. Oh my God, you motherfuckers. How are there still more stories? Fuck you. Anyway, there's no way, like... That story was a truant allegory, and the scar was from top surgery. Does that mean that Chatter was a woman? Or, I guess, is a woman, but wanted to be a man? Is that where we're going? Nightwalker here again. One day on... Wait, is this the same guy that we just read a story from? Yeah, I guess so. One day on the same route that I was walking in the previous story, I stopped by a park bench late at night. Oh, is this the one with the van? Hold on, let me double check. I think this is the one the van tried to go for this motherfucker. Yes, this is the guy that the van was gonna kidnap him. Okay, that's what number 2 we're reading. Okay. I stopped by a park bench late at night and was drinking a few beers. Some mannerable youngsters... Mannerable, that's a weird descriptor. 16 to 18-year-olds, I'd estimate, were driving by and stopped to ask me if I'd seen a couple of people around their age walk past recently. They even called me sir. I told them, yeah, they'd walked by recently since I had seen them. Turns out the directions I gave them were wrong because that same couple of people came by later again, and so did the car. They jumped out of the car, beat the shit out of at least one of them, dragged them into the car, and drove off. Okay, what is this a fucking... Is this... You live in Brazil, too? Where the fuck do you live? Anyway. The one person that was left behind kept screaming for help, specifically with the phrase, "Anybody, I need some help." I was pretty drunk by that point, so I just walked home. Alright. Okay. Is this fucking Brazil? Where is this? A guy screams for help, and you're like, whatever, I'm drunk, and walk home? Others that I've told the story have theorized it was some kind of inter-gang conflict. Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, that seems pretty likely. Half of your audience are from Brazil. Well, yeah, I know a lot of you guys are from dangerous places. And there are dangerous places in the US, for sure. I mean, any major city in this country is slowly making its way to third world status. That's for sure. But I don't know. I sometimes I hear about these stories, I'm like, I don't know, man. This is pretty fucked. All right, person. How about the next time you email me, you send me what your username is in chat, if you're so serious about it. That was referencing the story I obviously wasn't gonna read. Okay. This story is yeah, we can't change the track anymore. I'm just thinking, like, a part of me wants to keep changing the... okay, we can do one more track. Hold on. I'll pick it. This story is based on a nightmare I had a few weeks ago. Sorry for sending it late, I just heard you wanted spooky stories. 1,000 steps. I don't remember when I first heard about the curse. 1,000 steps, that's all you get. Then your body locks, skin grays, eyes harden, and your thoughts, trapped somewhere inside the stone, still screaming. A statue for eternity. No one knows when it began. That's the worst part. You might already be on your last step. I was in the city when I heard. People stood frozen on sidewalks, lips moving in silent counts, fingers twitching to tally every shift of weight. The streets choked with wheelchairs, skateboards, office chairs on casters, anything to hoard steps. Tiny wheels squealed like dying birds. At every corner, someone was locked mid-stride, 1 foot suspended. Their skin shimmered, then dulled to concrete. The sound was a wet crack, then silence. The statues never toppled. They balanced on whatever impossible angle they'd chosen. Some tried to cheat. Some of you guys really need, like, a creative writing class or something to get to, you know, unleash, you know, to let out some of this. The prose is interesting here. Anyway, I saw a woman sliding on her knees, raw and bleeding. A man in a pinstripe suit walked on his hands, briefcase clamped in his teeth, convinced the curse only counted feet. Another hopped, both souls slapping down together, claiming it was one motion, not two. Someone swore steps didn't register unless the heel struck, and so walked on their tippy toes. No one knew the rules. Every twitch might be the 1,000th, and you'd never hear it coming. Soon, most stopped moving. Safer, they said, to die horizontal than upright forever. They sat on curbs, knives or guns beside them like loyal dogs. Others stared at nothing, waiting for thirst to finish the job. I went down to the subway. Trains still ran, but the cars were galleries of stone commuters, briefcases fused to gray fingers, straps dangling from petrified grips. The platforms were empty except for echoes. A few followed me, counting aloud, voices cracking. I counted under my breath. 741, 742, 743. I wasn't sure why I bothered. You couldn't really trust your own tally. Did stepping off a curb count twice? Did shifting weight steal one? A woman walked behind me, holding her sleeping son in her arms. I continued to walk. Maybe I wanted to know how far I could go. The tunnel seemed to swallow sound, giving back only the squeak of abandoned wheels and the soft slap of my shoes. 994, 995, 996. Each step dragged like my soles were magnetized to the platform. My tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. I wondered if the city itself had been statued long ago, if every brick was a screaming face we'd never noticed. 997, 998, 999. I stopped. Far down the tracks, a train's single headlight bloomed, white and merciless. For a heartbeat, I thought, stand still, outlasted. But something coiled inside my ribs, tightening like wire. My knees buckled inward, the air thickened, pressing my lungs flat. I heard the woman behind me jump, and I knew what I had to do. Okay. Yeah, you jump into the subway. Train. Yeah. Alright, well, you should, pursue some writing. Yeah, it's pretty good. Good prose. I enjoyed how it's formatted. But, I don't know. I mean, we're here for, like, actual spooky stories, not like, you know, here's my, essay for my writing class or whatever. you know what I mean? Here's my spooky story for my, I grade it, not, I don't know, I can't think of anything clever. It's 3:30 a.m. Hey Synth, writing this during the stream, lol, so forgive the poor storytelling. Yeah, that was like the last 10 stories. The scary story I have was a very vivid dream from a few years back. I was halfway through a different dream when I suddenly walked through the doors of what seemed like a mall security room with a bunch of monitors. There's a doctor there in glasses who introduced himself by a name that doesn't exist. I checked upon waking up. I'm surprised he even remembered the name. Actually, I can't even read in dreams. I'm one of those people where the letters are never right. Anyway, sorry. Oh, well, he said it out loud. The doctor said it out loud, so it doesn't apply. And he told me in no uncertain terms that I was going to die in approximately 22 years from pancreatic cancer, about early 40s. He even told me how many months and I believe days. I don't remember, but it wasn't a dream that ended, if that makes sense. Hold on. Jeez, the fucking wine still hasn't digested all the way. Anyway. It wasn't a dream that ended, if that makes sense. Nothing wacky or dreamlike happened. He sat there looking sympathetic and reaffirmed that, yes, this is real. I was going to die at that date. At some point, the scene faded, and then it was a dark night. There was a huge plaza with tables and a railing, but I wasn't there in a physical form. I was just watching. Nothing happened for a bit when a siren suddenly started blaring and silhouettes of people began running around and screaming. The siren grew louder and louder, and they kept fucking screaming and running and screaming, and it got louder and louder, and it was another dream that didn't end until I finally awoke. Wait, isn't that how most dreams end? Anyway, sorry. I think I know what you mean. I think, yeah. Anyway. A bonus dream was one I had a little while back. This isn't horror, but more so funny. I don't remember the context, but I was in a self-defense situation against a large amount of unarmed people, if you get my meaning. And at some point, like a movie reveal, I looked into a mirror and saw that my hairline had receded by like 2 inches. Also, when I woke up, I discovered that during... Sorry, I feel like I just kind of brushed over the hairline thing. I don't give a fuck. Also, when I woke up, I discovered that during my sleep, I had packed one of my shotguns into a bag. I kind of remember doing this in the dream, so maybe I did it while half asleep. Kind of strange, but the Norwood shooter stuff made me laugh, and that's why I'm telling this. Yeah. I think chat enjoyed it, as soon as those hairline-related shit. Okay. Alright, hold on. Alright, to the person I'm actively talking to in chat, maybe I'll read that on a future Doomer Hour, but this fucking... I don't know, dude. I feel like these aren't, like, the type of Doomer stories we read on here. This is too, like, graphically sexual in nature. Also, people are going to be making a lot of food jokes during this one. I can already tell. Maybe we'll read this on a future Doomer Hour. I won't ban you. I won't ban you. Maybe I should, but I won't. I'll hold it in. Okay, well, that's all the Halloween stories. I don't care if you're in the middle of making a chat GPT prompt like that one guy or whatever. That's it. We went 4 minutes over, which is fine. That's actually not bad. I'm not gonna ramble for a while. I think I fucking, you know, I'm trying to think if there's any other scary shit that I can think of that felt supernatural in some way. I don't think so. I think, I don't know. Most of the weird creepy shit that's happened to me is just like building shit up in my head too much to be way worse than it actually is, you know? Yes, super chats before. Yeah, because it's probably been a while. Hold on. Can I just make one up real quick? I was a brony and my mom used to sleep in my bed. Spooky. Anyway. My first and only sleep paralysis. Did I say that one was fake? I don't remember. I thought the only obviously fake one was like the Chat GPT one, and there was another one. What was yours? I don't remember. Anyway, let's see. Ricardo sent like 20. It's been a while since I've read super chats, I think. Jesus, there was a lot. I feel like, how long has it been? It's been like 3 hours since I read them. What the fuck? How long have we been reading Doom Hour stories? Well, actually, I did play Bloodborne for an hour and a half. God damn it. I'm gonna be up till 4 in the morning. We gotta go to get through these. Holy fuck. What the fuck, dude? I haven't read super chats in over 4 hours. Oh my god. Why didn't I read super chat? God. Yeah, okay. Now I know what happened. The last super chat I read was the one where Smash JT showed 2 of my clips from Twitter. And I got distracted and didn't catch up on the super chats. That's why I haven't read them in so long. Ricardo Cumsock, thanks to the $5. Top 5 Halloween candies back in the day for me. 1, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. That's a good choice. 2, Snickers. Yep, that's a good one. 3, Score bars. Have I even had a Score bar? Hold on. I've heard of it, but I don't think I've ever had one of these. I do recognize them, but I've never had one. Okay, it's a chocolate toffee bar produced by Hershey Company. I keep forgetting how old the Ricardo is. He's like ancient. He's like 80 years old. Number 4, Butterfingers. The only thing I don't like about Butterfingers is the consistency. Like, they taste good. I just don't like how sticky they are. Number 5, Caramello. I think I've had that before. I can't remember what I thought about it. Ricardo Cumsock, thanks to the $10. Just got my ancestry report back. It confirms I am 100% the only actual white man left alive. No, you're just autistic. Yeah, you're an Amerimut like the rest of us. I mean, there's nothing left I can do. I shared homemade lasagna with my neighbors. I do not glow, I shine. And then another $5. This is like super Eva the gayest shit, brah. Wicked gay, brah. It's the gayest shit ever. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a reference. I mean, it's a he quoted. He quoted, so it must be a quote of somebody, but I'm not sure. Ricardo with another 5. I had 36 full sizes, Snickers, Milky Way, Reese's, etc. I only have 2 full whatchamacallits left at all. Major success. Oh, I see. So you gave them to kids. I thought like this ends with you getting diabetes and your feet falling off or something. You gave them to kids. I just need to show off the shirt one last time. I don't know. This is probably my favorite YouTuber shirt by far. I don't know. As soon as I saw, Oni was selling this shit, I had to buy it. Anyway. Ricardo, thanks to $2. Subtle foreshadowing Mentos lady. Someone was saying I should do that joke for something. I think that I should have wrote it down. Maybe I'll write it down now before I forget. I'm not that good of an editor, obviously, so I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off, but I think that's a good joke to try in editing, is have that for Outer Worlds 2, and the foreshadowing is me gunning down innocent people, but unfortunately, I'm probably not gonna be able to do jokes like that anymore with the new YouTube policy starting November or whatever that was, 17th or something. Ricardo Cumsocks, thanks to the $5. I whoopsie shit myself tonight handing out candy in my Fudgy the Whale costume. This shit is sealed tight. This is like 100 9/11s in here. You shitting yourself is like 100 9/11s. Interesting. Kane, thanks to the $5. Happy Halloween. I was dressed as Dr. Salvador, RE4 Chainsaw Man. I killed it when I was passing out candy. I scared some adults and kids. That's cool. That's a cool one, actually. I will do a fucking costume next year. I know I fucking became a lazy motherfucker. I gotta plan it in advance. I have money. I can buy a real ass costume. But I think I'll probably workshop it with chat, so that, it's something people actually want to see, and it won't just be whatever. But you guys are going to want it to be something retarded. I can't do the Spyro thing. I'm just not going to do it. It can't be like an obvious humiliation ritual. The Spyro costume on Amazon is $100. Yeah, but it's like a child size, though, right? Or is it how gay does it look? Let's find out. Oh god, that's so gay. No, that's hard. No, that looks so fucking bad. That's the gayest shit I've ever seen. No. Here, I'll let Chad see if I can. Yeah. So, yeah, that's not happening. Red Hood Rules, thanks to $2. Did you play Tormented Souls? I played the first one years ago and got blackout drunk and don't remember anything. But it was a terrible stream because that game has too many puzzles, and I don't think I solved a single puzzle during that stream. I forgot to play 2, though, this month. We can do that next week. Or whenever I stream next. I gotta get some work done. But we can play Tormented Souls in November. It's fine. The second one, I mean. And then another $5. Only true whites can burn a 100% beeswax candle and love it all the way down. Smells like honey all the way down. Pure chandlers. Okay. What the fuck? Why is he even talking about random ass shit? Online whiskey consultant, thanks to the £2. Synth pointing, a ghost, a pumpkin, and then Frieza pointing. Boo. Ricardo Cumsocks, thanks to the $5. Now everyone in chat has names I do not recognize. They're all ats and then some stuff. Why? I like to know them, and I knew them by name. That was my fun. Yeah, it's fucked with me too. I recognize, I recognize a lot of the profile pictures, but again, the images are so tiny that it's hard to tell, Verabauer, thanks the 5 Australian. Have you read any H.P. Lovecraft? I don't read. Devin actually did read some of it. One of the fathers of horror fiction. Personally, I like his racist stuff. Yes. Also, looking at his life, he was definitely a chud. Yeah, lefties don't like when you point that out, because a shit ton of lefties were inspired by his works and don't like the idea that he's a racist. Like the name of his cat, of course, everyone knows. Ricardo Cumsocks, thanks to the 5 books. Can you set your chat back to screen names rather than nonsense? I didn't touch any settings, and no one has told me of any setting to change. The last time this happened, we never figured it out. It just kind of changed back. I'm assuming it's on YouTube's end and is deliberate in some fashion. Don't worry, guys. I was staring at the YouTube studio page, so I saw it disconnect. I saw it happen, so there's no chance of the stream like just going down for no reason. But yes, very appropriate once again on Halloween, you know. I got, killed by the ghost mouse or whatever. MW Dale, thanks 10 Canadian. You're brown, you're retarded, and it's over. Favorite synth quote ever. Yeah, that's the type of quote that gets you banned. Is it any wonder I have a hate speech strike on my channel? It's never confused me. It was only a matter of time, is what I should say. After over 5 years, 5.5 years, I have a real strike, not just warning slap on the wrists. So, I just, you can tell I can't be careful. It's not my nature. Ricardo Cumsock thanks 5 bucks. I was working Sentry one night. I had way too much. I puked and pulled down a locker. So later, some cat shit zombie came to look, and I was gone. LMAO. Wow, he's out. Ricardo was the monster in the first story. Excuse me. Minute World thanks 5 bucks. I was in sleep paralysis and I was on my side, and I saw a fat, giant, obese demon standing in front of me in chains, chattering its teeth. I was gonna make a bad joke, and I'm not gonna say it now. It was just Lizzo. I don't know. Was it? I mean, never mind. I don't even know Minute World's still here. You are still here. Yeah, Minute World's still here. Was it a male or female demon? That's important to the story, I think. Retardigus too, thanks to the 5 reals. I would make fun of you for the zombie shit, but then I remembered I was scared shitless of fucking Power Rangers monsters when I was a kid. Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you remembered that, because that's probably worse. I think male. Ew, gross. Did he rape you? It's interesting that none of these demons ever rape anybody. Anyway. Ricardo Cumsocks, thanks to the 10 bucks. The past 2 years, I have been a shadow person. I keep doing this even though I know it's bad. What I do is, when they're drunk, I move in shadows and beezer them. LMAO, lil bzz, I gotcha. Alright. And then another 2 bucks. These stories are all gay and super fake and gay. Why didn't you send a story then, Ricardo? You're like 1,000 years old. You've got to have some kind of scary story. Then another 10 bucks. If you want some fake stories, dude, when I was a kid, I dressed up as an alien. My dad was Mossad plus CIA, and he had a real alien. He ended up confusing us in a stop and go, and we both got treats for free. All right. Okay. Well, that is definitely a story. Yeah, Ricardo, we've been asking for spooky stories all month, and I know you've been in these streams. Anyway, Ricardo with another 10 bucks. Yo, Synth, a real life horror story. I always loved my grandma. Dementia. She said to me, "Where's Ricardo?" and made rocking movement in her arms like a baby. I said, "I'm here. It's me. I love you, Graham." Oh, that's actually sad. MW Dale, thanks to the 4 Canadian and the coffee cup pair. Ricardo, thanks to the $2 and the blushing pair. Lord Particle, thanks to the $5. When I was younger, I had a nightmare when my brother and I were attacked by Dark Magician. Okay. Listen, Dark Magician's a good guy. It's just like that's what's fun about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the good guy is possessed by a pharaoh who did some evil ass shit, at least in season 0, but he kind of became a good guy over time. And you know, Dark Magician's a dark attribute, and Blue Eyes is a light attribute, so you'd think Kaiba would be the good guy. I don't know, whatever. I don't have time for this tism. Ricardo Cumsocks, thanks to the $10. All these stories are fake. I would love to see them manage being out of an actual place to live, to stay, even for a night. Too much histrionics. In real life, it just blends day to day. It moves. But Ricardo, you're like a fucking rich ass engineer, bro. What? Your story is you didn't feed your cat and he pissed in your mouth. I mean, no, I don't know why I'm saying stuff like this for no reason. You slept in your car? Okay, well, what's the scary part? Have you ever seen, do I plan to see the new Mussolini series? None scary? Well, what do you mean none scary? What, just because you slept in your car and you don't have scary stories for 2 years, there aren't any scary stories? What, I don't even know what your logic is. Are you drinking for the millionth time? I thought you were sober. Drift Speed, thanks to the $2. Synth, would you like to consult the bones? And then he posted some bone emojis. Ask? No, I have no questions. He was sober for 20 minutes. Ricardo, thanks $2. You're afraid of a little pink gay mouse LMAO. Listen, I know you're 100, but when you were a child, you were probably scared of retarded shit too. I don't know why you're pretending. Especially since you're autistic. So you're probably scared of normal human beings interacting with you. Having a conversation. Oh my god, I'm going to shit myself. Anyways. Frequency maxing, thanks to the 2 Canadian. Don't imagine a man on all fours crawling behind you. Okay, I won't. Inslayer Cologne, thanks to the £2. I am playing my own AI RPG game on Runway. What do you like? What are you talking about? Ricardo, thanks to the $10. If any of these guys actually hit a block like Nowhere to Live block, none of these stories would exist. It is all fantasy. Imagine, where can I poop today? Where can I shower? What does that have to do with supernatural horror, though? And Ricardo with another $5. So your horror story is you and your dog getting spooked. It can get worse. It gets so much worse. Imagine trying to find a place to live. You just said living in your car for 2 years wasn't even that bad, dude. What do you mean? What? Like, it's like if someone is walking up behind you is gonna fucking stab you and take your shit and kill your dog, yeah, you'd probably be scared. I mean, what kind of retarded, like, do we have to start listening to DBDR stories again? Because he was fucking getting chased by a gang of crimers when he was living in his car. You just Red Hood rules, thanks to the $2. Am I weird for liking OG RE1 over RE1 remake? Yes. But, I mean, you're in good company with weirdos and contrarians, so don't worry about it. Minute World, thanks to the $20. My ceiling light bulb's been flashing a lot every time I turn it on. I did you say talk straight to it? And put my hand on it in response, and it's like it's talking to me in Morse code. I ask it something, immediate flash. Succubi, gotta be. Makes sense to me. Are you gonna stick your dick in the light bulb? Is that the next step? LM, thanks 16 months membership. Keep the chat GPT stories coming, chat. Well, the fact that it like didn't read anything like any human being had ever explained was definitely like, I don't even know why I was still reading this, but I was tired, so fuck it. I did like the pros. The AI again, not like how any human would tell any story, but it read kind of like a children scary story thing. Ricardo, thanks for $5. I have hate, I think. None of you can actually suffer. It's all buffered, I think. See, this is the autistic narcissism I always talk about. One of the worst parts of autism is the extreme narcissism where you think like your life experience applies to everyone else. It's very infuriating and was part of the reason I stopped talking to Jack as I was getting older, because I'm just like, I can't stand this shit anymore. Like, you're not listening to anything anyone else is saying, and you just want to talk about whatever your obsessions are, you know? So, anyway. Suffer no hardship, actually don't need to strive to survive. Oof. Says the guy making $400,000 a year. I just want to remind you that it's Chav that. Anyway, MW Dale, thanks to the 10 Canadian. You're brown and retarded and it's over. Ricardo, thanks to the $5. Gold's Gym, 20. To shower in gym, free. To make poops, free. Then Ash Saint Bub, $5 to wash clothes. Okay, well, why not just be a filthy degenerate at that point? I mean, like, just don't shower. I mean, there's fucking needs who don't shower for like a fucking month. Frequency maxing, thanks to the 2 Canadian. New IQ test, how many senses do you have? Yeah, that was a good one. A third sense, that made me fucking live. Drift speed, thanks to the $10. I told 5 friends to make a statement of intention before we went into the woods. We saw a goblin alien man. He gave me good and bad luck. Wait, what? Is this a continuation of that weird consult the bones thing you were saying? We saw a goblin alien man. He gave me good and bad luck. I told normie friends he was powerless because they were geeking. Is this a reference? I don't know. Man of World, thanks $5. When I had my first job pushing carts, I saw a close-up of a UFO. It was at like gas station height and it zoomed past me. Why does no one ever have any pictures of UFOs? You know, we've got these smartphones in our pocket and nobody can seem to film them, it seems. SSS Tone, thanks to the 2 Australian. I've seen multiple UFOs in the last year. Have you thought of pulling out your phone and recording them? Just the thought. I know people always say you always only ever see them for 1 millisecond or something, but then how do you even know what you saw was real? Not just a hallucination, you know? Lord Particle, thanks to the $2. Why did the Battlefield 6 video get taken down? Hate speech. I have a hate speech strike on my channel. No, YouTube does not give you an exact timestamp. They give you a general timestamp. And I would say most likely it was me saying that women are baby-making factories and should be sent to the front lines to be, you know, to reduce the global population. I said something like that, right? But the real reason is just it got mass reported. And whenever videos get mass reported for whatever, they just run a bot through it to scan it. And, you know, the bot detected what it thought was hate speech. Sono Cocaliche, thanks to the 20 pesos. Happy Halloween. Spiteful Mutant, thanks for $5. Happy post-Halloween, Synth, and the guys in chat. Thanks for reading the spooky stories. It was a lot of fun to listen to tonight. Yep, no problem. I'd like to go to sleep. MW Dale, thanks to Canadian. I like vodka. Awesome. Necro Ride Don, whatever. Thanks to 10 months of membership. The Topo Gigio is from an Italian puppet show. All right. Well, let's hope he doesn't curse me with his his puppet demon energy. Sono Cocoliche, thanks to the 50 pesos. When I was 9, I played hide and seek with friends and hid behind some stairs. We heard someone coming down the stairs, but after a minute, nobody came. Spooky. Minute World, thanks $5. I think Ricardo broke the leaderboard since he's not there. Yeah, maybe. Maybe he got to the leaderboard too many times and it's on cooldown or something. Mythic, thanks to the 1 year membership. Happy 12. Good night, Chuds. Yep, 1 year. Okay. I think that was it. All right, I need to go to sleep now. Poir blinked. What? Poir's always blinking. Look at his eyes. His eyes are closed. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll see you guys. For Chudcast, I guess. This is probably the next time I'll talk to you. All right. Goodbye.